Chapter 7. Meeting Jenny Again. Soon after that, I heard that I was leaving the army early, and they gave me some money for a train ticket to go home. But all this time, I was thinking about Jenny Curran. Just before I left the hospital in Da Nang, I had a letter from her. She was now playing in a group called the Broken Eggs, and they played 2 nights each week at a place called the Ho-Daddy Club near Harvard University. Now that I was free from the army, I just wanted to go and see her. So I got a ticket for Boston instead of Mobile. I tried to walk to the Ho-Daddy Club from the train station, but I lost my way, so I took a taxi. It was in the afternoon, and the man behind the bar said, "Jenny'll be here about 9 o'clock. "Can I wait?" I asked. "Okay," he said. So I sat down and waited for 5 or 6 hours. Students began to come in, most of them wearing dirty jeans. The men had beards, and the women had long, untidy hair. Later, the group, the Broken Eggs, arrived, but I didn't see Jenny. Then they began to play, and they were loud. The music sounded like a plane that was taking off, but the students loved it. And then Jenny came on. She was different. Her hair was all the way down her back, and she was wearing sunglasses at night. She was wearing blue jeans and a shirt with lots of colors on it. The group started playing again, and Jenny began to sing. Later, I went outside and walked round for about half an hour, then went back. There were a lot of people waiting to go in, so I went round to the back of the place and sat on the ground. I had my harmonica in my pocket, so I took it out and started to play. I could hear the music that was playing inside, and after a minute or two, I began playing with it. Suddenly, a door behind me opened, and there was Jenny. "Who is that playing the harmonica?" she said, and then she saw me. "Forrest Gump!" And she ran out of the door and threw her arms round me. We talked together until it was time for her to sing again. "I didn't leave school," said Jenny. "They threw me out after they found a boy in my room one night. I went to California and stayed there for some time." She laughed. "I wore flowers in my hair and talked about love, but the people that I was with were strange. Then I met a man, and we came to Boston, but he was dangerous. He was against the war, like me, but he blew up buildings and things. I couldn't stay with him. Next, I met a teacher from Harvard University, but he was married. Then I began to sing with the Broken Eggs." "Where do you live?" I asked. "With my boyfriend," she said. "He's a student. You can come back and stay with us tonight." The boyfriend's name was Rudolph. He was a little man, and he was sitting on the floor with his eyes shut when we got to Jenny's flat. "Rudolph, this is Forrest," Jenny said. He's a friend of mine from home, and he's going to stay with us for a few days." Rudolph didn't speak or open his eyes, but he put up his hand and smiled. Next morning, when I got up, Rudolph was still sitting on the floor with his eyes shut. That afternoon, Jenny took me to meet the other people in the group, and that night I began playing my harmonica with them at the Ho Daddy Club. It went well, and I played with them every night after that. Then one day, I came back to the flat, and Jenny was sitting on the floor. "Where's Rudolph?" I asked. "Gone," she said. "Walked out, like all the others." And then she started to cry. "Don't cry, Jenny," I said, and I put my arm round her. Well, it started like that, but the next minute we were kissing and making love. And when we finished, Jenny said, "Forrest, where have you been all this time?" Chapter 8. Into Space. Spring and summer went by, and I continued to play my harmonica with the group. It was my happiest time of all. But, you've guessed it, something went wrong. How did it happen? I don't know. But one night I was sitting outside the Ho Daddy Club, smoking a cigarette, when a girl smiled and came up to me. She sat down across my legs and put her arms round me. She was laughing and kissing me, and I didn't know what to do. Suddenly, the door opened behind me, and there was Jenny. "Forrest, it's time to—" She stopped when she saw me with the girl. Then she said, "Oh, no, not you, too!" I jumped up and pushed the girl away. "Jenny," I said. "Stay away from me, Forrest," she said. "You men are all the same. Just stay away from me." She didn't speak to me again that night, and the next morning she told me to find another place to live. I went to live with Moses, one of the other men in the group, and soon after that, Jenny went to Washington to talk and work against the war. Moses wrote down the address for me. So I went back to Washington too. There was a lot of trouble there. Police were everywhere, and people were shouting and throwing things, and the police were taking some of them away. I went to find Jenny's address, but there was nobody at home. I waited outside for most of the day. Then, at about 9 o'clock, a car stopped near the house, and some people got out. And there she was. I started to walk towards her, but she turned and walked away. The other people, 2 men and a girl, didn't know what to say. "What's wrong with her?" I asked one of the 2 men. "She just got out of prison," he said. "She was there all night before we could get her out." Jenny was in the back of the car now, so I went over and talked to her through the window. I told her how I felt. I was sorry about the girl, and I didn't want to play in the group without her. She listened quietly, then opened the car door for me to get in, and we sat and talked. The others were talking about something that would happen the next day. Some American soldiers planned to take off their Vietnam medals and throw them away in front of the crowds of people. Suddenly Jenny said, "Did you know that Forrest won a medal?" The others went quiet and looked at me, then looked at Jenny. Next morning, Jenny came into the living room. I was sleeping on the floor of their house. She woke me up. "Forrest," she said, "I want you to do something for me." "What?" I said. "I want you to come with us today, and I want you to wear your army clothes." "Why?" I asked. "Because you're going to do something to stop all the killing in Vietnam." You can guess what I had to do, can't you? I had to throw away my medal with the other American soldiers. But because my medal was a more famous medal than theirs, it was more important to Jenny and her friends. But it got me into more trouble. Oh, I threw my medal away okay, but it hit somebody really important, one of the president's men. So they threw me into prison. Why did things like that always happen to me? As it happened, I didn't stay in prison long, because they soon realized that I was an idiot, and they put me in a special hospital for idiots. It was the doctors at the hospital who decided to send me to NASA. That's the Space Center at Houston in Texas. "You're just the kind of person they're looking for," the doctors told me. I soon understood why. NASA sent me on a journey into space with a woman and an ape. Me, a spaceman. It was very strange. All kinds of things went wrong because of that ape. Instead of coming down in the sea when we returned, the spaceship came down in the jungle somewhere, and it was 4 years before the NASA people found us. But the ape and I were soon good friends. His name was Sue. Yes, I know it's a girl's name, but they sent a male ape up by mistake, and NASA didn't like to tell the newspapers that. And it was in the jungle that I met Big Sam, a man who taught me to play chess, and that was important, as you will see later. Chapter 9.